Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pope.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Pope. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Good morning, Earthlings. Welcome back to First Contact Radio. How you doing today? Glad that you could be here. 26th of January is the date. Sun sign is in Aquarius. Moon sign is in Virgo. Virgo in the tarot card is the Hermit. It's an earth sign. Learning the lessons of patience and timing. Very important. Patience and timing down in the physical reality. Aspects we're looking at today. We already had one aspect that took place at 3:50 a.m. between the moon sign Virgo and imagination of Venus. Okay, so nice positive energy there. Creative input applied to the lessons of the Virgo. We have an opposition coming up at 1:52 p.m. between Virgo, the moon in Virgo, and Neptune. Let's take a look at that right here. Here's our moon in Virgo. Opposite, we have Neptune in Pisces. So remember, this is like, two people on a teeter-totter or playing tug-of-war. The idea is you want to get these characters to play together nicely. Here we have Pisces. Pisces is about emotions, feelings. It's a water sign. And we have Neptune, which is challenging us to look at things from another perspective. Look at our emotions from another perspective. Over here, we have the Earth, which is a way to ground out our emotions. So it's a nice way to look at how to balance out here. We have patience and have timing. We need to learn some lessons between these two of how to be patient but not wait too long, how to feel the emotions without being cold and unfeeling at all. And so we have a nice good balance that's taking place this afternoon, 1:52 p.m. And then tonight, Mars is in a sextile with the moon, Virgo. So Mars always gives this input of energy. Mars is this life force energy that surges into things. And it can provide creativity, a creative spark. It could provide a passionate spark. It could provide a spark that causes just frustration, depending on how the energy is channeled. So again, it's all about how we use energy, how we channel that energy through us. The moon sign is currently a waning moon. Our new moon is on February 8th. Currently, we are 93.4%. We just went past a full moon. The moon is still pretty full. If you get a chance, go out and check it out. 16 Shavat is the name on the Jewish calendar for today, and the Mayan oracle. Let me see here. Didn't get the daily thought for today. Let me see if I can jump back over to that. Well, you know what? We're just going to move on from there. Move too quick. I guess that's how it goes. All right, the Mayan oracle is a 12-tone day. 12 tones called the crystal tone of cooperation. The crystal tone of cooperation, and it's about the mirror. So the cooperation that comes through the reflections that we have shining back at us in the world. It's the crystal tone because we're getting ready to make that jumping off, which we'll do mañana when we hit the storm, the 13th position. And we're just finishing out this wave spell, this theme of the hand, of accomplishing. Okay? Phrase for today is I dedicate in order to reflect universalizing order. I seal the matrix of endlessness with the crystal tone of cooperation. I'm guided by the power of heart. Space weather, our solar wind is currently at 356.0 kilometers per second. Planetary index, quiet as a 1. Coronal holes, large coronal hole opening up at the top. You could see a little notification here where it shows the northern coronal hole. So we'll see if we got some wind coming from there. M-class flare possibility, 10% now. X-class is at 1. Geomagnetic storm activity seems to have subsided a bit in the mid-latitudes. It's dropped from 30 down to 25. In the upper latitudes, it's gone from like 40 to 30. So things seem to be subsiding. Remember, the universe breathes in and out, so that's what's going on. And then, of course, looking up at the sky, here we have the moon, Jupiter behind it. Boy, Jupiter was really bright last night. I don't know if you got a chance to get out and look at it, but it was sure bright. Stars were shining bright. It was a very clear sky out here in Southern California. Jupiter shines lower left of the moon after the rise in mid-evening. A small telescope will show Jupiter's moon Europa fading away into eclipse by Jupiter's shadow around 9:32 p.m. Eastern Time, when Jupiter will still be low for Easterners. Jupiter's now prominent great red spot causes Jupiter's central meridian about 3 hours later at 12:21 a.m. Eastern Time. Okay. So there you have it. That is our cosmic weather for today. A lot going on. Just remember to ground yourself, be patient, and just keep your thoughts positive. UFO news is up next. Let's get to it.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. I got 5 good stories here today. Story number 1. Fleet of UFOs seen during sunset over Maryland. This goes to the 20th. Just a couple days ago. Object in question. We could see it's not a flare. Is it some sort of weird shadow coming from something? Next question to ask. At my house, shoveling out my truck with neighbors, noticed a beautiful cloud formation, started making photos one after another. Later, when admiring features of strange looking clouds, started to see orbs, cone-shaped pyramids that looked black, then hundreds of them with other objects in cloud. Please evaluate the photos. Is there another explanation for these strange clouds and objects? Thank you. Okay, well, definitely see them in there. And if this is correct, these are a whole bunch, it looks like, maybe in there. You can see little kind of dots in there, darkening things up a bit. Very interesting. Certainly have something going on there. Maybe one of our expert viewers out there might be able to throw in their 2 cents on what they think this is. Okay. Let's move on to the next story here. Unknown lights and formation flying over Kissimmee, Florida. This was from the 24th. UFO of 2 triangular shaped formations taken over Kissimmee, Florida, January 24th, 2016. Okay, the video itself, 2 minutes 46 seconds. We could see, yeah, definitely interesting looking objects there. They seem rather low flying too, don't they? You can see them pretty much above the just above the lights there. Huh. Well, they could be who knows what they are. This one looks triangular in formation up here when it's still. This one might be the same thing. It's just moving around so much, hard to tell. All right, very interesting. It's over Kissimmee, Florida. Daytime UFO over San Antonio. Daytime footage of a bright object flying across the sky of San Antonio in Texas on the 23rd. The witness said, "Here is some unidentifiable evidence of a UFO orb maneuvering in an area over San Antonio. This UFO was clearly under intelligent control. Sighting lasted about 10 minutes. It traveled in a controlled manner while rotating in place as if it was monitoring the area. You can see how it travels in a constant speed. At times it stops, however, then changes direction. At one point it descends clearly under some sort of control with perfect points of reference. We can see the altitude while traveling of speed direction, followed it until it was out of sight. In my opinion, this object is clearly not an aircraft or weather balloon or satellite." Okay. And I would say that this guy's been capturing UFOs long enough that he knows the difference between a lens flare and not. There's definitely some sort of object out there. You can see as it zooms in, it looked more orb-like. Okay. So it's San Antonio, UFO, Texas. I say UFO, Texas. Very interesting. All right, next. One town in the USA that may have more UFO sightings than any other. Hooper, Colorado. As part of a new series, Colorado's Unexplained Stories, we're taking a trip 4 hours south of Denver to San Luis Valley. The area is nicknamed the UFO hotspot of America. Apparently, there are more UFO sightings there than anywhere else in America. Locals refer to Highway 17, which cuts through the valley, as the Cosmic Highway. If you take the highway into Hooper, you'll eventually pass an oddly shaped dome with structures known as the UFO Watchtower. It was created by Judy Messeline 15 years ago. What I find is we get people here because we need a place to talk about, and especially ones that have had experiences, especially abductees, Messeline said. If anyone who lives in the area in Hooper, if they've ever seen anything weird in the sky, and chances are each one of them will tell you yes. Their experience inspired Messeline to create the tower. It features plenty of things, including a logbook where people can write their run-ins with the unknown. I had an air traffic controller from DIA come in who said they get 6 to 8 UFO reports from pilots every month. Now figure that one out, Messeline said with a chuckle. Without a doubt, what's inside the tower is neat, but what's outside is really out of this world. The meteor showers are just awesome from up there, Messeline said as she stood on the tower. From top to tower, people come to experience something different. About 40 psychics have been by, and they've all said the same thing, that there are 2 large vortexes in front of the tower, Messeline said with a serious tone. It might sound weird, but Messeline said there's something special about the land the UFO Watchtower sits on. So much so, she created a UFO garden. A garden is scattered with all sorts of trinkets left behind by visitors from our world. When you walk through the garden, you should pay attention to your body so you can feel the energy of the vortexes, she said. Vortexes are defined as being a portal between our world and other worlds, almost like a gateway to a different universe. I thought that's kind of special, you know, doggone, she said. For some, this sort of stuff is hard to believe, but in Hooper, the supernatural just comes naturally. Lots of things happen here, and they can keep on happening because I'm having fun with it, Messeline said with a laugh. All right, one more story here. CIA rates top 5 declassified documents on UFOs. Okay, what we have here is, according to the recent entry in the Central Intelligence website, hundreds of documents that were declassified in 1978 detailing the agency's investigations into unidentified flying objects have been categorized into the top 5 most compelling. The documents date primarily from the 1940s to the 50s. To help navigate the vast amount of data contained in the Freedom of Information Act UFO collection, a few documents have been highlighted that both skeptics and believers will find interesting. Top CIA documents reports. Okay. Says reports. Flying saucers reported over East Germany. A minute to branch chiefs meetings in UFOs. Flying saucers reported over Spain. In North Africa, 52. Survey of flying saucer reports from August of 52. Scientific Advisory Panel on Unidentified Flying Objects from 1953. And we have some more here. So older reports is what they're letting go. Looks like 52, 53. Get some good PDFs and info. So check it out. The link's available so you can see what's going on there. And that brings us up to take a quick break. I'll be back. We'll continue on. Stay tuned.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Great Spirit is the song. Let's continue on here. Okay, the last 2 days actually started last week with the Nag Hammadi Library. I'm going to continue on with that because, as I said, I believe this is a very important series of text. Thus far, we've gone over the secret apocryphon, or the Apocryphon of John, which is the secret book of John, in which Yeshua, Jesus, told John, and this was after the resurrection occurred, after Jesus had, rose from the dead, appeared to John, and they had a conversation in which he explained to John the workings of the universe in a different way than had been described beforehand. And the reason was in there, or one of the questions John was asking, he said, we heard about this realm outside of here, but you never really told us too much about it. So, as Yeshua was telling him the story, we find out that there are multiple realms of existence. Let me pull up this graph here. Multiple realms of existence. We got the realm where, started with the mother and the father, and they interacted together and created the divine autogens. And then the divine autogens is given charge to go and create from there. This is the Christ energy as well. And creates 4 realms. And each of these have 3 sub-realms. So we have 12 realms underneath the authority of the Christ. And in one of these realms, we have Yaldabaoth. Yaldabaoth was the fallen one. Yaldabaoth was known as the error brought into the world in an unnatural way, represented the darkness, and went off into another realm, another place, and created. But Yaldabaoth didn't create on his own because he didn't know how to create on his own. All he could do was do a counterfeit, copy or imitate what he saw. So when he created beings and angels and demons and so on, he was just copying what he thought and what he knew, and he believed that he was God. And eventually it got to the point where God revealed himself to Yaldabaoth. Yaldabaoth didn't take too kindly to that, really felt jealous and wanted to trap God, and henceforth the creation of Adam. And then Eve was sent as an instructor spirit initially down to help Adam. And then when Yaldabaoth discovered this instructor spirit helping Adam, tried to find out how to get this out of Adam, and this is where we have the story of Adam and Eve coming out of Adam. And then eventually the two of them continued to, and she continued to instruct Adam, didn't stop the process. And then Yaldabaoth kicked them both out of the garden. And then Eve was raped by Yaldabaoth. So it's a much different story than what we are told when we read through the Old Testament. And therein lies the problem. Because the Old Testament shows us a story of a being that created the reality, created this world, created man, but it doesn't tell us the origin of where this being came from. And we look and we find out, and this being came from darkness. This being was ignorant and arrogant. So our whole world and the place and the way that we got here is in a very bizarre manner. Well, there were certainly opportunities along the way where things changed, where people had an opportunity to redeem themselves past this, because it was Yaldabaoth who was the one who was the sin. He was the one who was the error. It wasn't everybody else afterwards. That's the big lie. This original sin that man sinned. Man didn't sin. Yaldabaoth did. Man was simply along for the ride, created in order to be some sort of a servant or a slave of sorts. And then, of course, these stories somehow tie in with the stories of Enlil and Enki and the Sumerian texts and tablets, and there's a lot of things that connect. We'll get into all these connections because we're going to delve into this more and more. But right now I want to get into the next one, the Revelation or the Apocalypse of Adam. Now yesterday I read the hypostasis of the rulers, or of the archons. The archons are these dark entities that we can call them demons, is another name for them. But throughout the Bible, there's often references to them. You don't hear a lot about that, though, when you go to church, do you? You don't hear about the archons. And yet, Yeshua says us directly that our battle is not with the flesh and the blood, but it's with these other powers, these other authorities. So it's important that we are aware of them, because if we're not aware of them, then we've got a real problem. So let's take a look at this next chapter here, this next book. and it's not in any particular order, these chapters. This is the Apocalypse of Adam. The revelation which Adam taught his son Seth in the 700th year, saying, "Listen to my words, my son. When God created me out of the earth along with Eve, your mother, I went about with her in a glory which she had seen in the eon from which we had come forth." Now, this glory here, when you see this, she went about with in a glory in this state other than the body state, in this glorious state of something otherworldly, something not physical. Okay, so he went with her and was experiencing something outside of the physical, in the glory, in the presence of God, feeling this godliness coming through, this divinity. So she went with her in a glory which had been seen in the aeon from which she had come forth. She taught me a word of knowledge of the eternal God, and we resembled the great angels, for we are higher than the God who had created us, and the powers with him whom we did not know. Okay, so right off the bat, we've got Adam acknowledging that they were higher than the God who created them. But there is an eternal God out there, so he's come to understand that. Because Eve showed him, and they were able to leave the body of sorts to go and experience things. So very important to know that. Then God, the ruler of the aeons and the powers, divided us in wrath. We became two aeons, and the glory in our hearts left us, me and your mother Eve, along with our first knowledge that breathed into us. And it, glory, fled from us, and entered into something great which had come forth not from this eon, but from which we had come forth, I and your mother Eve. But it, knowledge, entered into the seed of great aeons, and for this reason I myself have called you by the name of the man who is the seed of the great generation, or from whom it comes. So he's naming his son Seth after, let me show you here, remember here? We had Adam, and then Adam's son was Seth, and these are all in the higher realms. This isn't physical yet. So in the higher realms, we had Adam, and we had Seth. So he's naming him accordingly in honoring the higher realms there. For this reason, I myself have called you by the name of the man who is the seed of the great generation, or from whom it comes. After those days, the eternal knowledge of God, the truth, withdrew from me and your mother Eve. Since that time, we learned about dead things like men. We recognized the God who had created us, for we were not strangers to his powers, and we served him in fear and slavery. Okay? They were aware that they were slaves. And after these things we became darkened in our hearts. Now I slept in the thought of my heart. And I saw three men before me whose likeness I was unable to recognize, since they were not the powers of God who had created us. They surprised and the glory and the men, saying to me, "Arise, Adam, from the sleep of death, and hear about the aeon and the seed of the man to whom life has come, who came from you and from Eve your wife." When I heard these words from the great men who were standing before me, then we sighed, I and Eve, in our hearts. And the Lord our God, who had created us, stood before us, and he said to us, "Adam, why do you both sigh in your hearts? Do you not know that I am the God who created you, and I breathe into you the spirit of life as a living soul?" Then darkness came upon our eyes. Then the God who created a son for himself, and Eve, your mother. Okay, so here they're kind of getting into created a son for himself. They're talking into other situations that occurred. "I knew sweet desire for your mother, for in the thought of I knew a sweet desire for your mother, then the vigor of the eternal knowledge was destroyed in us, and weakness pursued us. Therefore the days of our lives became few, for I knew that I had come under the authority of death. Now then, my son Seth, I will reveal to you those things which those men whom I saw before me at first revealed to me, after I completed the times of the generation and the years of this generation have been accomplished. Then something, a slave." Okay, For rain showers of God the Almighty will be poured forth, so that he might destroy all of the flesh of God the Almighty, so he might destroy all the flesh from the earth on account of the things it seeks after, along with those of the seed of the men who passed the life of the knowledge which came from me and Eve your mother, for they were strangers to him. Okay, so God, this Yaldabaoth, wanted to destroy the earth. He was going to send a flood because Adam and Eve and too many that were coming in, and this spirit of God that was coming forth didn't like it. Afterwards, great angels will come on high clouds, who will bring these men to a place where the spirit of life dwells. Angels on high clouds could also sound like beings in spaceships, doesn't it? Where the spirit of life dwells, something glory, something there. They will come from heaven to earth, and the whole multitude of flesh will be left behind in the waters. So they're talking about these beings who are going to come down and rescue them. Then God will rest from his wrath, and he will cast his powers upon the waters, and he will give power to his sons and their wives by means of the ark, along with the animals, whichever he pleased, and the birds of the heaven, which he called and released upon the earth. And God will say to Noah, whom the generations will call Deucalion, Behold, I have protected you in the ark, along with your wife and your sons and their wives and the animals and the birds of heaven, which you called and released upon the earth. Therefore I will give you the earth to you, you and your sons, in kingly fashion you will rule over it, you and your sons, and no seed will come from you of the men who will not stand in the presence of my glory. Okay, so anybody who comes from Adam or from Noah who's not obedient is not going to live, apparently. Then you will become as the cloud of great light, whose men will come who have been cast forth from the knowledge of the great eons and the angels. They will stand before Noah and the aeons, and God will say to Noah, Why have you departed from what I have told you? You have created another generation so that you might scorn my power. And Noah said, I shall testify before your might that this generation of men did not come from me, nor from my sons. And he will something to those men and bring them into their proper land and build a holy dwelling place. And they will be called by that name and dwell there 600 years in a knowledge of imperishability. And the angels of the great light will dwell with them, and no foul deed will dwell in their hearts, but only the knowledge of God. And then Noah, so what it sounds like here is there's another group of beings, maybe these angels who came down, and they dwelled together, keeping the understanding of the higher power of God with them. Then Noah will divide the whole earth among his sons, Ham, Japheth, and Shem. He will say to them, My sons, listen to my words. Behold, I have divided the earth among you, but serve him in fear and slavery all the days of your life. Let not your seed depart from the face of God, the Almighty. I and your, something the son of Noah, my seed will be pleasing before you and before your power. Seal it by your strong hand with fear and commandment, so that the whole seed which came forth from me may not be inclined away from you and God the Almighty, but it will serve in humility and fear of its knowledge. The others from the seed of Ham and Japheth will come, 400,000 men, and enter into another land and sojourn with those men who came forth from the great eternal knowledge, for the shadow of their powers will protect those who have sojourned with them from every evil thing and every unclean desire. Then the seed of Ham and Japheth will form 12 kingdoms, and their seed also will enter into the kingdom of another people. Then will take counsel who are dead of the great aeons of imperishability, and they will go to Sakla, their god, and they will go into the powers, accusing the great men who are in the glory. They will say to Sakla, What is this power of these men who stood in your presence, who are taken from the seed of Ham and Japheth, who will number 400,000 men? They have been received into another aeon from which they have come forth. They have overturned all the glory of your power and the dominion of your hand. For the seed of Noah through his sons have done all your will, and so have all the powers of the aeons over which your might rules. Well, both these men and the ones who are sojourners in their glory have not done your will, but they have turned aside your whole throng. Then the gods of the Aeons will give them some of those who serve them. They will come upon this land where the great men will be, who have not been defiled, nor will be defiled by any desire, for their soul did not come from a defiled hand, but it came from a great commandment of an eternal angel. Then fire and sulfur and asphalt will be cast upon those men, and fire and blinding mist will come over those Aeons, and the eyes of the powers of the illuminators will be darkened, and the Aeons will not see them in those days, and great clouds of light will descend, and other clouds of light will come down upon them from the great Aeons. Abrax and Sablo and Gamaliel will descend into those men out of the fire and the wrath, and will take them above the Aeons and the rulers of the powers, and take them away from life, and take them away. The dwelling place of great there with the holy angels and the Aeons. The men will be like those angels, for they are not strangers to them, but they work in the imperishable seed. Once again, for the third time, the illuminator of knowledge will pass by in great glory in order to leave something of the seed of Noah and the sons of Ham and Japheth, to leave for himself fruit-bearing trees, and he will redeem their souls from the day of death, for the whole creation that came under the dead earth will be under those authority of death. But those who reflect upon the knowledge of the eternal God in their hearts will not perish, for they have not received spirit from this kingdom alone, but they have received it from an eternal angel, an illuminator, who will come. Something of that is dead of Seth, and he will perform signs and wonders in order to scorn the powers and their ruler. Then the God of the powers will be disturbed, saying, "What is this power of this man who is higher than we?" Then he will arouse a great wrath against this man, and the glory will withdraw and dwell in the holy houses which it has chosen for itself. And the powers will not see it with their eyes, nor will they see the illuminator either. And they will punish the flesh of man upon whom the Holy Spirit came. Then the angels and all the generations of powers will use the name in error, asking, where did the error come from? Or where did the words of deception, which all the powers have failed to discover, come from? Now the first kingdom says of him that he came from something, a spirit of something of heaven. He was nourished in the heavens. He received the glory of that one and the power, and he came to the bosom of his mother, and thus he came to the water. The second kingdom says about him that he came from a great prophet, that a bird took the child who was born and brought him to a high mountain. He was nourished by the bird of heaven. An angel came forth there. He said to him, "Arise, God has given glory to you, have received glory and strength," and thus he came to the water. The third kingdom says of him that he came from a virgin womb. He was cast out of the city, he and his mother. He was brought to a desert place. He was nourished there. He came, received glory and strength, and thus he came to the water. The fourth kingdom says of him that he came from a virgin. Solomon sought her, he and Pharasilo and Saul, and his armies which had been sent out. Solomon himself sent his armies of demons to seek out the virgin, and they did not find the one whom they sought, but the virgin who was given them. It was she whom they fetched. Solomon took her. The virgin became pregnant, gave birth to a child there. She nourished him on the border of the desert where they had been nourished. He received glory and power from the seed from which he was begotten, and thus he came to the water. The fifth kingdom says of him that he came from a drop of heaven. He was thrown into the sea. The abyss received him, gave birth to him, and brought him to heaven. He received power and glory, and thus he came to the water. And the sixth kingdom said that he came down to the Aeon which is below in order to gather flowers. She became pregnant from the desire of the flowers. She gave birth to him in that place. The angels of the flower garden nourished him. He received glory there and power, and thus he came to the water. The seventh kingdom says of him that he is a drop. He came from heaven to earth. Dragons brought him down to caves. He became a child. A spirit came upon him and brought him upon a high to the place where the drop had come forth. He received glory and power there, and thus he came to the water. And the eighth kingdom says of him that a cloud came upon the earth and enveloped the rock. He came from it. The angels who were above the cloud nourished him. He received glory and power there, and thus he came to the water. And the ninth kingdom says of him that from the 9 muses one separated way. She came to a high mountain, spent some time seated there, that she desired herself alone in order to become androgynous. She fulfilled her desire and became pregnant from her desire. He was born. The angels who were over the desire nourished him, and he received glory there and power, and thus he came to the water. The 10th kingdom says of him that his God loved the cloud of desire. He begat him in the hand and cast him upon the cloud above him of the drop, and he was born. He received glory and power there, and thus he came to the water. The 11th kingdom said that the father desired his own daughter. She herself became pregnant from the father. She something cast a tomb out in the desert. The angel nourished her there, and thus he came to the water. The 12th kingdom says of him that he came from 2 illuminators, that he was nourished there. He received glory and power, and thus he came to the water. And the 13th kingdom says of him that every birth of their ruler is a word, and this word received a mandate there. He received glory and power, and thus he came to the water in order that the desire of the powers might be satisfied. But the generation without a king over it says that God chose him from all of the aeons. He caused the knowledge of the undefiled one of truth to come to him. He said, out of the foreign air from a great aeon the great illuminator came forth. And he made the generation of those men whom he had chosen for himself shine, so they could shine upon the whole aeon. Then the seed, those who will receive his name upon the water, and that of all, will fight against the power, and a cloud of darkness will come upon them. Then the people will cry out with a great voice, saying, Blessed is the soul of those men, because they have known God with the knowledge of the truth. They shall live forever, because they have not been corrupted by their desire along with the angels, nor have they accomplished the works of their powers, but they have stood in his presence in a knowledge of God, like light that has come forth from fire and blood. But we have done every deed of the power senselessly. We have boasted in the transgression of all of our works. We have cried against the God of truth because of all of his works. Our eternal, these are against our spirits, for now we have known that our souls will die the death. Then a voice came to them, saying, Michu and Michar and Miniosius, who are over the holy baptism and the living water, why are you crying out against the living God with lawless voices and tongues, without law over them, and souls full of blood and foul deeds? You are full of works that are not of the truth, but your ways are full of joy and rejoicing. Having defiled the water of life, you have drawn it within the will of the powers to whom you have been given to serve them. And your thought is not like that of those men whom you persecute for their desire. The fruit does not wither, but they will be known up to the great eons, because the words they have kept of the gods of the aeons were not committed to the book, nor were they written. But angelic beings will bring them, whom all the generations of men will not know. For they will be a high mountain upon a rock of truth. Therefore will they be named the words of the imperishability and truth, for those who know the eternal God in wisdom and knowledge, and the teaching of the angels forever, for he knows all things. These are the revelations which Adam made known to Seth his son, and his son taught his seed about them. That is the hidden knowledge of Adam, which he gave to Seth, which is the holy baptism of those who know the eternal knowledge through those born of the Word, and the imperishable illuminators who came from the holy seed, Jesus, Mazaris, Yesadukius, the living water. Okay, so this one is, with all of these, I find that reading through them a couple times really is very helpful to understanding. But we see the point and get the point here that, he's teaching Seth about the reality of the world that he's living in, and there's both light and there's dark. And there's the beings that Yaldabaoth is creating, and then there's the beings that are being sent down that are filled with this spirit, understanding the truth of the eternal God. And it's been a battle back and forth and back and forth. And so that is the battle that's been going on for a long while. That's the battle that's been going on. And so here we are all these days later, and we're still fighting the same battle. And it's not about the physical reality. It's about something beyond flesh and blood, as we're told. So the more that we do pay attention to understand that this power of the eternal God that flows through us needs to get out into the world, the more that we're going to be able to make this world into the place that we need it to be, because we see the problem. Now, one thing about all of this, everything that occurred with Yaldabaoth occurred as, planned and understood by the Father. The Father watches over all, so he understands what's going on. And so even though things were happening, it obviously needed to happen so that humankind would grow. Okay? So there you have it. There you have it. The link's available so you can read it again. And each time you do, I guarantee you will grasp a little bit more meaning from it. All right, that brings us to a message today from Gabriel.
Archangel Gabriel Daily Message tilde Monday, January 25th, 2016 by Shelley Young. We speak about anchoring an energy into your energetics in order to experience more of it. It can be difficult for you to fully understand what that means. Let us give it to you in a way that will help you make sense of it. Think of an area of your life where you really thrive, where you experience something as a constant. As an example, we will use having running water in your home. You expect that you will simply go to the tap and turn it on and have water. You do not wake up every day powerlessly wondering if you will have water. You do not wonder how to think about water so that you will create it. You simply have it. Even if something happens that you temporarily do not have water, your expectation is that you will have it again soon. It is simply a fact of life to you that is anchored into your experience. There are parts of your life that are never an issue for you. Feel the matter-of-fact way you view those areas. Then compare the way you feel about that topic to another area in your life that you find more problematic. Do you see? Can you feel the difference? Once you can really see how different the thriving area feels to the more challenging area, you can know what to aim for. Start to play with the energy of what you wish to create more of. What can you do to start to anchor in that energy? It could be through visualization, imagination, meditation, and choosing to immerse yourself in all things that represent the energy of what you desire. It could be any way that helps you energetically claim what is desired in an empowered way. You may need to take some time to surrender any fear that you have on that topic, or to work on any worthiness issues you may have. But this is the good news: if you have ease in one area of your life, it is a skill you already have. It is just a matter of applying that same energy that works to all areas of your life, and that, dear ones, is truly stepping forward as a creator. Tilde Archangel Gabriel.
All right, that was a good message. Very important, because it definitely talks to our understanding that if we want to create, it's about the fire, water, and the air, bringing it down, anchoring that. And how do we anchor these energies? We anchor them through different means, through visualization, through meditation, through any way where we can visualize what it is we're wanting to manifest, and we visualize it being here. And that's how we bring it down into reality. We actually see it into reality. Okay? So that brings us to our meditation for today. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. And another breath. And exhale. Heavenly Mother and Father, we thank you for all of the blessings you pour upon our life on a daily basis. We thank you for the opportunity to manifest into this reality that which we desire. And we pray that our desires are those that are in line with the highest good of all. for life. Let's imagine as we look around the world, through all the beings on planet Earth, we see people walking through, a bit confused because they don't know what they want. So let's just imagine sending some positive energy to those individuals. And as we do, we see that their confusion clears up. And they become more focused. And as we move through the world and we continue to send positivity, we see that more and more people become focused and clear. And in the process of sending out this positivity, we find that ourselves become more focused and clear. Because we understand that as we adjust the reflection around us and attend to that, it reflects back at us in the way that we are creating. So we continue to find these ways to enhance our lives by enhancing the lives of others. And in such we realize the connection we all have. And so we continue to send out positivity, knowing that as we do so, connections are made, opportunities are made available. Now let the subconscious mind continue to send out positivity as it goes to each and every individual that it sees, just silently. And let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale, and open your eyes. Alright, that's it, my friends. That's the meditation for today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that you take the time. I know the information we're going over is somewhat intricate. It might not be for everybody, but those who are willing to hear, I believe that you're going to understand something very important that we all need to know. We look for solutions in this world, how to make things better. Well, the solutions are available. And they're written in the ancient texts like the ones that we're going over now. So when we pay attention to these ancient ideas, we realize that the old ways are really the best ways, because the new ways really don't enhance or encourage us to follow the ways of spirit. But when we look at our ancestors, we look at the understandings that are truly there. That's the foundation for all things. So we need to get back to that, my friends. We need to get back to the foundation where God is the foundation that we rest upon. Not the God or gods or beings who created mankind. Not the fake gods, but the one true eternal God, Mother and Father of all, and their Son, the Christ consciousness. Alright? Alright. That's it for today, my friends. I'll be back tomorrow. Have an awesome day. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.